Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command World War II, World at War. In today's episode, we are fighting through the summer of 1944. The war is not going well, the Allies are falling back from an invasion of France. We've been kicked out of Italy. For the most part, we did bring one American army into Sicily to try and hold on to some of the MPPs down there. We've been driven out of Yugoslavia. Russia is on the brink with Moscow surrounded on two sides, or at least not surrounded, but it's currently a salient in the front, and eastern and central Russia are being overrun at will, largely. There's a couple of strong forces around an alternate capital for the Soviets near Perm, but that likely won't hold very long on its own. The key German forces are being held at bay at Moscow, and if they're allowed to roam free, then they'll use the rail lines through Gorky, Kirov, and they'll flank Perm and bring things into a bit of a rough spot. Additionally, Murmansk is on the verge of falling, depending on where the Germans move with the units at Chem. We have nothing to stand in the way of them taking Murmansk, which I think would then cut off these supplies that are flowing to the USSR from Great Britain and the United States. There's quite a lot of money and resources that are pouring that way, so that would be pretty disastrous for us if that were to occur. With that being said, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. The campaign in the Pacific is going better. We do have two divisions ashore, two Marine divisions ashore at Okinawa. We've taken that from the Japanese. We've taken Iwo Jima. We've taken the Mariana Islands. We've just taken Manila, and we have begun moving south to drive on Davao and the southern portion of the Philippines. And so we're trying to whittle away at the Japanese Empire in the Pacific there. But things aren't going great in China, so we'll see how long we can hold out there. The Japanese are driving on Chungking, the Chinese capital. They've already taken the alternate capital at Langkawi. The interior at Umrichi is a little bit safe for now. A little bit safe. It's safe for the moment, just because there's a big amount of distance and logistical challenges to getting there. But India could be exposed to Japanese invasion if we're not careful. With that being said, let's go ahead and end the turn. We've already played through our turn of July, so let's see what the end of the month has in store for the Axis powers as they move to attack us. You can see several of our units right away are suffering attrition damage. Brazil's willing to join us in the war and has offered to send an expeditionary force to serve alongside our forces. It is currently forming for deployment at Rio de Janeiro. However, they require our assistance in preparing the corps for combat to bring it up to full strength with the best equipment available. Doing so will cost us 50 MPPs. Yes, I don't see any reason not to do that. That's less than a full price of a new core unit. So, why not? I didn't realize Brazil had an expeditionary force that served in Italy. That's interesting. So you can see they're forming at Rio de Janeiro, full strength 2, 2, and 10. That's good to see. Axis radars are hitting the USSR convoys, the UK convoys, etc. Ground attack weapons development there. USA develops industrial technology level 3. That's good news for us. That should help with the economy, I believe. I always get the production and the industry tech confused. One makes units cheaper, one makes your economy better. I think production is cheap. I think industrial technology is the economic engine. Still, that's behind where we should be. The AI is thinking. All right, so the Germans are issuing some reinforcements to their units in front of Moscow. They're also doing some strategic redeployments of units near Kubajev. The Germans are moving motor torpedo boats into Bergen along the Norwegian coast. You know, one interesting idea might be if we pull back a little bit from Europe but then land in Norway, because it's largely separated from anything. Holy shit, it just killed that whole unit in one strike. It's largely separated from any front. They might be able to come over the top. I don't think they've taken Finland, and I think Finland is still neutral, so it might be safe to try and take Norway. It would also cut us a trade route that they have, so some economics there. Meanwhile, German tactical air forces being very effective in this turn. There's a corps destroyed in front of Moscow. V weapons hitting England continuously. I wonder if there's any defense against those things. Japanese tactical air force is continuing to be very effective in China. We really need the weather to turn in our favor. troops hitting those Soviet troops there near Ufa that are cut off and they're destroyed. All right, this is it, guys. The Battle of Moscow has begun. They're attacking our headquarter unit in the north of Moscow. Okay. A lot of our infantry in the southern part of Moscow is still somewhat well defended because they're well dug in, but the troops on the northern edge, which they just destroyed, they drove back the air defense unit and they destroyed an infantry corps up that way. So that's bad news bears for us there. Meanwhile, they just destroyed an infantry corps here in front of Quichao in southern China. They've also just gained a foothold on the border of Chungking, which is only held by a headquarters unit, by an armor unit, for the Japanese, that is. The one positive is that armor unit might be a little bit overextended, so we might be able to swing in and cut it off or destroy it just because it'll have a poor supply line. Meanwhile, a Russian corps near Ufa is also cut off. I wonder if I can destroy this corps. It's bordered on 3 sides. It's probably got crap supply. I need to leave this guy at Severodolsk to protect against those heavy German tanks coming up. Yeah, the only defense might be luck. Certainly possible. All right, so we lost the 24th Corps, the 16th Corps. So 2 Russian corps destroyed. The Chinese 6th Army was destroyed. Norwich, Portsmouth destroyed by bombing. Chinese Langkao Corps also destroyed. So the Chinese actually lost an army and a corps. The Russians lost 2 corps, and the British were damaged. Lots of intelligence. All right, USA Far East Air Force fighters are ready for deployment, and 4 Chinese corps, or 3 Chinese corps, so that's good, or not Chinese, Russian corps. That's good news for us. All right, that'll be 1 to 3, 1 to 0, 1 to 2. Nope, don't do that. I thought I could have undone that, but maybe not. That heavy tank unit's going to get 4 to nothing against us? Damn. That's going to be tough. Yeah, so it goes right back in. All right, so we're exactly where we left off, except apparently different intel. So if I really wanted to game the system, I could just kind of keep loading the autosave to see what extra intel I'd get. Not that I think it really matters in this case all that much. Boy, we got a lot more intel, though, when I loaded off the save. All right, let's go back. We're going to reinforce this guy to full strength. Huh, that's weird. Alright, so we damaged this core. I'm also hoping we're hindering supply to these units over here to the west. We'll go 1 to 3, 1 to 2. Why can't I withdraw that direction? The direction I want to withdraw. Got him! Nice. Alright, so we just knocked out that enemy unit. Okay. Well, I think we'll move this corps south and we'll move this army here. Really, no damage there. Alright, well. These guys we're going to upgrade because they're not adjacent to the enemy, so we'll give them infantry weapons level 2. We'll give them some anti-aircraft defenses as well, which they badly need. Apparently I can only retreat them further from my own units. I'm surprised the Hungarian troops down near Gurevy have not been attacking that garrison unit at all. Meanwhile, we're advancing on Tehran with a British garrison unit, a Kenyan colonial British unit, to try and liberate that from the Germans, which they don't appear to be garrisoning. Yeah, I've heard really good things about when Titans clashed, Super Chacho. I would like to check it out at some point. Alright, so this headquarters unit, Zhukov, is technically in Moscow. So I think I have to pull him back. I'm trying to think of what the right tactic is going to be here. Actually, that I should not have done. Shit. Well, we can do this. That core is going to get destroyed, though. But really, it's about buying time at this point. We just need Russia to survive as long as we can. We're getting close to winter, so that might help. Okay. I mean, I don't want that air defense unit to die, but it's going to because it needs to help buy time, I guess. Meanwhile, we do have 3 new cores. These guys are dug in level 2. I don't want to stop that. They haven't advanced any further north from Kem yet, either. Yeah, it doesn't look like without declaring war on Sweden, or sorry, Finland, they can't get into Norway. So if we were to land in Norway, that would be potentially a nice, somewhat safe tactic. We've got the naval forces to support it, too. We don't have the land forces in place yet, but again, not a terrible idea, I don't think. Okay, so we've moved all the few units we have. We need to place our new units. So there's 3 new cores. We don't want to place them in positions where they're going to be on the front line the first turn, if you will. So we'll place 1 here in the rear of Moscow. You know, I'm actually just going to place 1 here so there's no headquarter unit on the front line. They might attack it, but I think they're more likely to attack this core over here. And then we'll put the 3rd remaining one on the rail line. We'll actually put it in... Do we want to put it in Sverdlovsk? Could put it near Petropavl and then come up here to try and link this railway here. Or we could put it down here and try and drive north toward Ursk into their flank. I think the better route is just to put it... we could put it east of Sverdlovsk. It might prompt them to attack instead of attacking the shock army. I think we'll put it here, just south of Perm. That still does leave us with 260 some odd points left for the Russians, which isn't a ton. I mean, it's enough for 2 cores, it looks like. Just spamming manpower at them. So it looks like we'll actually get 2 new cores in September. We'll get a new army in September. And we might... it'll be a different turn probably when we get that shock army. Are the Italians considered the Allies now? Doesn't look like I can buy any of their units, but it does... They did show up in that production screen, whereas the Germans and none of the other Axis powers do. The headquarter at Urland. Oh, the German headquarter unit here? Yeah, hopefully. I don't know. If I'm hoping that maybe by doing what we did, we cut these guys off from supply, but we'll see. This is our only other capital. Perm is it. We've lost Kubachev, so if we lose Moscow, then it's up to Perm to hang in there. All right, so that's that. I'm going to pull this armored unit out of Spain. We're going to bring it up to England. I guess, yeah, we'll bring it into England. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare for a tactical attack on Norway to try and take out Trondheim, Narvik, and Oslo, and take that income and that trade route out of Germany's reach. Okay, we'll move this Special Forces unit north as well. Reinforce this infantry. The supply situation here sucks. I barely have any British units here either. The only British units really are the air units. Okay. Doesn't look like I can move into Sardinia that way. I guess we might as well upgrade their air defense and mobility, since the Germans have so many aircraft. Alright, so we're going to pull the Ranger Special Force unit out of Spain as well. I'm also going to pull this Canadian headquarter unit out because I have no Canadian forces left in Spain, so there's no reason to maintain that there. I do think it's a good idea to move our British anti-aircraft units closer to the front to try and provide a little bit of cover for our troops there. There's probably one more British headquarter unit that needs to be here too. Unit into Zaragoza. Does that improve the supply situation at all? Not really. Upgrade the air defense on that unit. I think this British unit's going to pull back to Murcia. I'm going to shift focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull some of the British units out to the Middle East and then see what we need to do with them there. I don't think it's likely that Germany can move from Russia to the Middle East because with Jordan and Iraq currently neutral, they don't have a path to do that. But I do think we might need to relocate some of these British units to India to help against the Japanese. So at least for the moment, I'm either going to plan an invasion of like Greece or somewhere that's a little bit easier to isolate and remove from their sphere of influence, or I'm going to rush emergency reinforcements to India. So for the moment, I'm going to pull some of these units back to the likes of Egypt, which I would have thought had better supply, and I should have checked beforehand. But I'm going to pull a headquarter unit out there too, so it shouldn't matter as much. Meanwhile, the thin American front line is going to continue holding out there. We're going to pull further back into Spain, where I think supplies will be a little bit better. My Air Force can't even do anything. They can't, or at least they can't reinforce. I don't want to give up Spain, but I'm also not going to delve too many resources into holding it. Okay. I should drop some amphibious troops in Caligria in Sardinia. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Maybe we'll use the British Corps down here to do that. But I think that, I mean, I don't want to pull the fighters out. I could, yeah, I'm not really using them for anything. I don't really have the fighter strength to use them for anything. So I could use 44 MPPs to operate them to northern England in the event that we do end up fighting a naval battle out that way. Just put them down to Reading in the event that the Germans land there. I don't want to spend that much money this turn, so we're gonna hold these units in place for now. And see what we do next. We'll see how strong the Germans press here. The right flank is in much better supply. So we'll see. Move some fighters forward here to help defend these guys. I need maybe put a headquarters at Burgos. I don't know. I'm trying to chain the headquarters, but that didn't seem to work. Okay. So maybe put that other American headquarters at Burgos, or maybe put the British headquarters at Burgos. I'm not really sure. So that'll bring it to 8. Which then expands supply. Actually increases supply up here on the front line a little bit, so it looks like that might have been the right decision. These guys will be at 7, so it'll be an improvement for these 2 British fighter units. It'll be a slight improvement for the Coastal Command fighters up here also. We're going to move this American fighter unit up here. North Coast to defend there. I think that's a slightly better setup. I can't really afford to abandon Spain entirely. It'll give Germany too many MPPs, plus we don't want to lose access to the Mediterranean via Gibraltar. So we'll have to hold in some form or another. Have any units on the East Coast? I don't think so. We do have the Brazil headquarters unit, though. So let's go ahead and throw them on transports. Get them into the fray. Where can we go that's safe? Not Dakur. I think we'll just move them north first. So I don't want to... screw it. We'll take a risk. We'll put them in the middle of the ocean. If the Germans don't get an intelligence thing, they won't know they're there. And then I'll probably move the Brazilian headquarters unit either to England to plan for the invasion of Norway. I'm not really sure. Alright, let's pull some of these carriers back. I need to upgrade some of these air units. I think I already upgraded that carrier. How are my fighters getting chewed up like that? Against enemy torpedo boats in port. I would actually like to drive north and try and engage the German fleet up here. That could give us some morale boost if we can engage them decisively in a sea battle. But I probably should wait on that until I can get them all reinforced. I'm not sure it's also the best use of my resources, spending all that money on the Navy up there. He says and then immediately spends. I mean, some of the naval upgrades aren't too pricey. That's a lot of money to spend on the Texas. We'll hold off on that. All right, let's also move our coastal aircraft north. I need to build some more Canadian troops. Actually, I wonder, so the British have a little bit of money left. I'm not going to spend it quite yet. But if we were to purchase, the Canadians have lost a few units, so we should be able to get discounted. Then again, so have the British. They've lost the 1st Corps and the 10th Army, so we get those discounted also. But Canada gets, for what? No, apparently no Corps. No Army. No tanks. No discounts on any of this? We've lost tanks. I mean, the discount's only 8. It's not huge. 180 out of 380, 348. Let's hold off on that for now. We're going to need some of that British money to help with the invasion of Japan. Because there's large amount of Commonwealth forces over that way. Also, you'd think Gibraltar would be better than a level 5. I don't know if it's only a level 5 because it fell at one point. Okay. Alright. So I really need to put troops east of Lido here along the border with India and China, and then maybe Darjeeling up here. I'm not really sure where the likely Japanese invasion would come. They don't have the sea power to do it over sea, though. Alright, we found the enemy carrier. It's in port at Shanghai and has not been reinforcing for whatever reason. I don't want to move my aircraft carriers up there. That would put them in unnecessary danger. Why can't these guys reinforce? Get there. Next turn that'll be an 8. This armor will be a 10. So I'll move these guys up here because they should be able to reinforce here. I'm just going to drop these guys for the moment. I'm not going to keep them on transports forever. That'll hurt their efficiency if I do. These guys down here. That should improve the supplies next turn. It will, slightly. We've got the Australian headquarters, so we should move units around it to take advantage of that. This I really need better headquarter allotment. This British Indian Army won't do much. Meanwhile, these troops that are landing should have decent supply. The Japanese troops don't. So let's just kind of pound the Japanese troops at Davao, and maybe we can accomplish something. Just slowly wear them down a little bit. we are doing some damage to him. That's 3 hit points so far. Not efficient, but it's something. Gary Grigsby's War in the Pacific, I would argue Super Chacho shows the true power of the Allies' industrial might. God damn it. Why did I do that? Well, we landed troops all around the Japanese. Our troops aren't going to have any supply down here. God damn it. Okay. I wish I could change this guy to something else. I don't even think I have any Sudanese forces. Could try and buy some. Oh, we can get a nice inexpensive Sudanese corps there. We should do that. The Sudan Defense Force. Okay. That's Axis. I mean, these are all Axis occupied. Alright, so Timor, the entire island is now ours. I'll have to do some reinforcements of some of our naval units here before the drive on Japan anyway. We'll also want to upgrade our air wings for our carriers, but we need to make some progress in the Philippines first. Okay. Finish that port off. I know you don't technically have to attack it to see its supply drop, but I have noticed that it doesn't always seem to work if you don't. I don't know if there's like a failure percentage or what. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Okay. Alright, so their morale is 11, their readiness is 18, their supply should be next to nothing next turn with all of the port supply destroyed, and I think we've also damaged the city pretty heavily as well. So their morale is at 11%, their readiness is 8, they have no entrenchments. We've destroyed at least 2 of the city's strength. Okay. We've got 2 armored units. Up here we're going to reinforce the 3rd Army. Saipan is going to be a major staging area for our eventual invasion of Japan. think I'm actually going to race the 2nd Rangers forward here to Iwo Jima where they're going to unload, and then we'll load them back up when the time comes. So we'll have the 2nd Ranger, the 1st Marine, the 2nd Marine, so 3 Special Forces divisions. We'll have the 3rd Army, so 3 divisions, 1 Army, 2 level 5 tank units. All told, we'll have a total of 6 units for the landing. Honestly, I think that's more than enough to take, because of the bonus they'll get for their amphibious levels, I think that's more than enough to take Nagasaki and Hiroshima. We probably won't be able to drive north toward Osaka, and Tokyo will come under heavy air attack, but I do think that this is... I do think this is doable. Okay. I guess we can try and... See, the problem is with the amphibious transports, they're just so worthless. Let's actually pull this Aussie division back. I've got too many troops in not enough places. I'm going to put them in India. Because I kind of, I'm anticipating a Japanese drive west once they get into, like, Kunming. Maybe even into Burma. So we probably should put some troops in Burma. Actually, that's where the road is. The Burma road would probably be the most logical advance. So maybe I should cut east with that corps. Do you have any more Australian units back in, I think, no, that's everybody. I do have the one guy at Port Moresby, but I don't want to... There's a Japanese infantry unit in New Guinea. I don't want to surrender Moresby to them. We do have the New Zealand unit out this way. So we'll throw them on transports and move them somewhere. There should just be, honestly, a generic Commonwealth headquarters. The way the game models logistics and supplies, it's a little bit... kludgy to try and have one for every country. Hopefully, even though these guys have no supplies, the West Force Melee Corps, they'll be able to get up here toward Tarkin and take that oil facility. So we have garrison units in a couple of these places. We have new American units. We have a new fighter unit. I think I'm actually going to deploy them on the West Coast, because I think what I'm going to want to do is forward deploy them to Okinawa or even to Japan. Once we land there, we're really going to need the ability to have some fighter cover for our units against all these Japanese units. Now, our carriers will help, but I think we need a little bit more than that. All right, so that's the Pacific. I don't know if we have anything to upgrade for these guys. Maybe the level 2 anti-aircraft defenses. That'll probably be important for them, too. Okay, all right, so let's check out China here. So we'll get some defensive artillery as I try and attack these tanks in the mountains, and of course we'll take damage. Alright, so we'll move these guys forward here. Two to 4, that's actually, those are pretty good odds. I don't have a lot of units to trade for them, though. I think we'll just keep our defensive positions there. Pull back to Guizhou. What's the supply situation up there? Not great. We'll stay back then. Still does leave China with some reinforcement points, because I'm not really spending everything I could. Also, there's no Indian troops left in China, so there's probably no reason to keep these guys here, right? So if I pull back, will that affect their supply? Slightly, but not meaningfully. So I'll pull this Indian headquarter back into India. Meanwhile, with the Indians, I am going to see if there's anything I can purchase. I can afford a core. An upgraded one, too. Or we can go an unupgraded Special Forces unit. So the core is better than the Special Forces unit at attacking. Or no, it's not. Is it worse at everything? It's got fewer action points. Yeah, Special Forces is better, everything. We'll purchase that. Alright, so that means India's actually going to get a new core and 2 new Special Forces units by October, so that should help in that theater. We're going to try and pull this headquarter unit back to get into Rangoon or into Burma and hold a defensive line there against China. We'll bring in those 3 cores. We'll also bring that Australian corps in that direction. The supply situation in Burma, well, in Western China anyway, should be okay. Well, I'm not sure. I guess that depends whether it reflects supply for the Chinese forces or whether your own. But anyway, all right, for the Chinese now, let's go ahead and purchase a new unit. We can't afford an army unit. We can afford a core unit. Upgraded too, so we'll do that. So we're going to get a Chinese army and a Chinese corps in September. The Americans have 257 left. Not really enough. We could go for fighters to give us a better fighter cover in Europe, maybe. I mean, we've got so much fighter cover via our carriers, I'm not sure how meaningful more of that would be. Maybe some tactical bombers or medium bombers or strategic bombers or something, I don't know. Can't my OBS, well, actually, Jay Parker, thanks for the follow. By the way, Dark Hammer 14 minutes ago, thank you for the follow as well. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted just to keep the money. What are we producing for the US right now? We've got, in September, we'll be getting an airborne unit. We'll be getting a Special Forces unit, or sorry, October we'll get a Special Forces and an airborne unit. September we'll get a mechanized unit and a heavy tank unit. I guess we might as well go for another army. That army will come in December. I think that's going to do it for the income for this turn. Yeah. Are those all needed to quell dissent? They are. I might even need more garrisons in India, but for the moment it's sufficient. We'll see how long we can hold in Spain. I think we're going to get overrun there, but we will see. I'm also going to pull one of these carriers north to help with my intention to seek out the German battle fleet and destroy it. The Germans do have 20 naval units, which is pretty strong, but I think a large number of those are submarines. One thing I didn't really look at was research. That was probably something maybe with the British money I could have invested in. You can see we're working on level 3 amphibious warfare technology. We're currently at 2, but we're 71% of the way to 3. That would be helpful for those units in the Pacific. Meanwhile, the industrial technology for the British, we're working on level 4. We're already at 3. Production's at 1. Production is unit cost. Meanwhile, the U.S. is at industrial level 3 now. We're still investing to try and get it to 4. Probably could throw another chit there next turn. Production technology is working toward level 5 as well. Logistics also. Anti-aircraft defense is working. I didn't know you can have up to 5 levels of anti-aircraft defense. Wow. Interesting. Anti-submarine is up to 2. Ground attacks at 2, working toward 3. Long range is at 1, working toward 2. We're way behind in the research department on some of this stuff. We're in good shape with the tanks. We're maxed out there. We're in decent shape with the fighters, I think. Germany might be slightly ahead of us. Infantry weapons are already maxed out. But some of the ancillary stuff we're behind on. The Russians are way behind on everything because they haven't had money to spend on anything since a long time ago. That's also hindering their effectiveness. Hamish, War in the East. It depends. I would say Super Chacho, it has less to depend. It's less about how much you like strategy games. It's more about how much you like very, very large games that take a long time to master, that are very intricate and challenging, and yet on the same time, they deliver a sense of grandiose demonstration of these theaters, like the Western, Eastern, and Pacific theaters. In the case of War in the East, obviously the Eastern theaters, that no other game really, no other computer game has ever matched. There's a handful of board games that are like garage games that deliver similar experiences, where like you take your whole garage up with the game. But generally speaking, I would say War in the East is really, it depends if you're into the Eastern Front and if you really want a sense of the grand, massive scale of that conflict and just the sheer amount of complexity behind it, then it's a great game for you. But it's definitely not a game for everybody. All right, guys, I know this was a bit of a short stream, but I've got some folks coming over tomorrow to do some work at like 7 in the morning, so I'm going to have to sign off early. This is kind of an ad hoc, kind of last minute. I didn't really announce it, didn't really know I was going to be streaming, just sort of decided to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up here. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know your thoughts always if you'd like to see more of this. This war it's interesting and also not, like, in some ways, right? Like, the Eastern Front is just a matter of time. The situation in Spain feels the same way. But then it's a completely different war in the Pacific, where we're planning for at least a spoiling invasion of Japan that I think has a decent chance. I don't think it's likely Japan will be able to launch effective counterattacks that'll kick us off the mainland if we can get our supply situation set up properly. And I think we should be able to. We've got the headquarter unit. We probably want to upgrade its air defenses. We've got large numbers of units with decent air defense in their units. We'll have a large number of carriers to provide close-in air support. Really, the main thing we're lacking, I think, for it to be successful is a tactical air force, because tactical ground-based air units do way better than naval units. But I think also from like a research perspective, we're probably ahead of the Japanese. I don't think they have the money, and because of the massive naval losses they've suffered, I don't think they have the ability to have invested in what they need to invest in. The level 5 tanks should be huge. The terrain there isn't great for tanks, but like if we get tanks north of Hiroshima, there's a couple of there's at least one clear terrain. Osaka's clear. The hex next to Tokyo is clear, so I mean there's a chance that we've got a fair number of reinforcements in the Philippines. If we can ever get our supply up to knock these Japanese units out of the Philippines, then and liberate the Philippines as a whole, then I think we've got a chance of accomplishing some important stuff. Meanwhile, I think for some of these other units, a couple of these units, I'm just going to kind of sail them around to different Japanese bases to make sure we're taking all of this stuff out of their control. I don't plan to move into the South Pacific, into the Solomons or into New Guinea. I've left one corps there to defend there. I think we'll just leave these guys out sort of on the vine. There's no real national morale centers there. There are some supply centers, but there's no national morale centers to take there. One thing we could consider taking is Tarawa. We haven't taken that yet. Same for truck. Those are both national morale objectives. I don't know if they impact the supply that we can forward deploy or not. I'm not really sure about that. We also probably should have landed on Guam. I forgot that when I landed those guys over here. So we should consider that because that is a supply base just off the other Marianas Islands, and I don't think the Japanese have anything there. But in any event, guys, I hope you're enjoying the series. As always, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.